Hey nerds, Bevan here. Welcome back to my channel. In a couple of days time, on Tuesday, WWE SmackDown moves to Tuesday nights and is going live. And if that weren't big enough, they're also doing a draft because they're going back to a brand split. So we're gonna have Raw versus SmackDown. I was in Winnipeg, Manitoba last night, the hometown of Chris Jericho, baby! From our own wrestling show for PCW, hooked up with my buddy Alix Vanna, aka Chris, and the two of us did our own little mock draft in preparation for Tuesday, so I thought I would give you guys the results. So I represented Raw, which I think makes me Stephanie McMahon, and he of course SmackDown, and I guess Shane McMahon. You will see we drafted very different kinds of rosters. He has a very specific interest in mind. He was drafting what he called the workhorses, who are going to put on amazing matches all the time. Mostly smaller guys on his side. I have a lot of bigger, stronger, thicker guys. I also have a lot of guys who are, they focus a lot on the microphone, a lot more, talkers and brawlers more than the workers. But I still think my roster is very, very capable of putting on amazing shows. We did 10 picks each, flip-flopping back and forth. I, with Raw, had the first draft pick, and I chose Kevin Owens. I just think he's the hottest thing in the product right now, and that's who I want to build my brand around. He thought the same thing about AJ Styles, so that was Chris's first pick for SmackDown. I followed it up with the guy who's been the franchise for the last decade. I went with my man, John Cena. So Chris went and picked a franchise player of his own, except he went down to NXT, and he chose former NXT champion Finn Balor. Pretty good pick. For my third overall choice, I went with the guy who's being groomed to be the next John Cena. I chose Roman Reigns, who I think gets a lot of undeserved hatred on the internet. I am a huge Roman Reigns fan, and I will stand by that forever. To follow up my pick of Roman Reigns, Chris decided to pick his WrestleMania 30 opponent, Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar recently defeated Samoan UFC fighter Mark Hunt. So I went with the dude who's probably his cousin and the current NXT champion, Samoa Joe. And I know Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar is a dream match for a lot of people. Speaking of NXT champions, Chris followed up with his number 4 pick of Sami Zayn, former NXT champion. I went back-to-back picks with champions. I had Samoa Joe at my number 4. For number 5 pick, I chose current US champion, Rusev. So I think I still got Lana? I'm not sure, we didn't really make the rules up that clearly. And I can't believe he snaked this pick away from me somehow. I'm not sure how. I missed it when I picked Rusev, but he followed that up with his number 5 pick of Seth Rollins. So I'm sitting there, I got my 5 choices: Kevin Owens, John Cena, Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, and Rusev. I need a quicker guy. I need Cesaro was my number 6 choice. My opponent on the SmackDown brand was visibly upset at this choice. He went with the show stealer, Dolph Ziggler, who was actually picked higher than I would have expected. I thought of picking Ziggler with my number 6, but I went with Cesaro instead. With our number 7 picks, we established that stables were drafted with each other, so I picked the New Day, and he took the Wyatt family. So far on my brand, the only WWE veteran I have is John Cena. I've got wrestling veterans, but the only franchise player so far has been John Cena, so I picked Chris Jericho with my number 8 pick. I haven't necessarily enjoyed his most recent run since his return. It just hasn't been there for me, but he's a guy who I could put in there with anyone who have a great match and have a great program with, so Chris Jericho was the obvious choice. To match my pick of the veteran Chris Jericho, Chris went in a completely different direction by going back to NXT and drafting Shinsuke Nakamura. Super good pick. With the exception of Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods in my New Day pick, I pretty much only have heavyweights in my roster right now. So I went with Kalisto for my number 9 pick. To combat my budding cruiserweight division pick with Kalisto, Chris decided to focus on tag teams, and he once again went back to NXW and he chose the current NXT Tag Team Champions, American Alpha. I said NXW, which is a promotion I wrestle for in Manitoba with Chris. American Alpha's never wrestled for them. My bad. And now for our last picks. I was very torn on this. I was between 3 different choices. Because Chris had just drafted the NXT Tag Team Champions, American Alpha, I thought maybe I should have a tag team. Maybe I will draft Big Cass and Enzo Amore. I didn't though. I thought maybe let's focus on the women's division too, so that way if he's got the tag team division kind of in hand, I'll have the cruiserweights and the women. I'm not a huge Charlotte Flair fan, so I didn't even pick the women's champion. So then I was torn between Becky Lynch, who's my favorite women's wrestler right now, and Sasha Banks, who's my second favorite women's wrestler, but who I think is much more marketable than Becky Lynch is. So for my number 10 pick and the last one in this draft, I chose Sasha Banks. And for Chris's number 10 and final draft pick, he went with current and probably soon to be former WWE champion Dean Ambrose. So there you have it, folks. What do you think of my draft picks? I'm going to put both rosters in the description below, and I want you to comment and tell me which roster you think was better. If you like this video, hit that like button, and if you really like this video, hit that subscribe button, because I'm putting up videos every single week. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at BevinBoyChuck, and until next time, folks, I am out like a light.